Hello, it's Tracy Dix here again from Wyrd Learning, and I'm back here on day 14 of my conversion card challenge. So this is James Wedmore, who created Business by Design, and his powerful language patterns that convert so that people will want to work with us. So, day 14, remove blame, shame, and guilt. In our copy, it's important that we point to the pain, problems, and symptoms that will motivate people to make necessary changes. It is also important that we don't let people shame themselves for these problems. That's why it's always crucial to add copy towards the end of your problem identification sections, such as, don't be ashamed, ... it's not your fault. Formula, your statement here, but don't be ashamed, it's not your fault. Examples in action, don't feel bad, I see most entrepreneurs fall into this trap when they're first starting out. Or don't be ashamed, I totally get it. I made the same mistake myself without even realizing it. And it's not your fault. So before I get into how this might convert into academic writing, it is true actually. This statement is entirely true when it comes to students who experience imposter syndrome, because you may come to university and think, well, you've done really well at school, why are you struggling with academic writing now and critical analysis? Again, it is, don't be ashamed, don't feel guilty for it, it's not your fault, because very often academic writing is not taught at universities. You are taught your discipline. So whatever subject you're studying, that's the content you're taught. And then you're just expected to, produce an essay according to certain rubrics and things, and no one really ever shows you how to do this. There are some academics who do, and if that's the case, then you're very fortunate. But it's not consistent across the board, so definitely don't feel ashamed to ask for help. There's usually a service at universities, or Alex and I are very happy to support students with this to help you with your study skills and your academic writing. Now, in terms of how this converts to academic writing, I want to address the issue of criticality because I think many students think that by being critical of research studies, it's kind of picking out the negative things, the negative points with these particular studies or with the articles. This is not necessarily the case. I mean, critique is a kind of catch-all term for just thinking about the strengths and the limitations of a study. And I don't think you should feel bad. I mean, I can understand how from an undergraduate perspective students might feel, well, who am I to be critiquing an established scholar's work? Well, here's a useful starting point for you that hopefully will remove that imposter syndrome. Now, if nothing else, every study is limited by resources, time and money. It's just the way of the world. That there isn't kind of limitless funding or limitless number of hours that researchers can put into a project. So because of those limitations, you may be restricted to a particular size, a particular group sample size. For example, so you may be studying only 40 participants rather than 40,000, which would be a far more comprehensive study. But if you're limited by funding or by time, or if this originated from a final year research project, you're definitely not going to be studying 40,000 participants. There's simply not the scope for it. So those are some practical considerations that would apply in many situations. And so don't feel bad that you're identifying these limitations, because that's all part of the critical analysis and critiquing other research projects. Okay, so if this has been helpful, do subscribe and join me on this journey, and I'll see you tomorrow.